everybody. Happy Sunday. As usual, this is Karen here, your favorite virtual assistant. As you can see, today is honoring International Women's Day, right? Women's Month. This is what we're going to be talking about, women in business. So I hope you guys, we have a panel of phenomenal women. I love you ladies. So I was excited to have this conversation. As usual, my name is Karen. I am your favorite virtual assistant, in case you don't know it yet, right? I work with healthcare professionals to assist them with administrative tasks in their business. So Gail, my favorite co-host, this is we'll pass it over to you so you can get us started.
Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday. My name is Gail. I am from the beautiful, amazing island of Barbados. I like to put that in. And I am the lead training consultant with Envision Training Solutions. And what we do is transform raw data into amazing, engaging presentations where we train corporate teams and everybody learns, grows, and earns together. It's my pleasure to introduce our panel today. We have some phenomenal ladies. And today we want to talk a lot about women in business. How easy is it? How hard is it? How much dye do we have to put in our gray hair? I don't know. I use a lot. So can you ladies, I'm going to start with Kat. If you can just introduce yourselves, maybe in about 2 sentences, and then we're going to get the real show on the road. So welcome everybody.
Welcome. Such a pleasure to be here, and thank you. And such a great panel of women here. I'm Kat Vai. I'm the CEO of CV Strategic Marketing Solutions, and I've just started a new business working as the CMO for healthcare B2B pros. I'm also a success coach. I have an organization called Women with Dynamic Purpose, and I have been in the healthcare business for about in total about 30 some odd years, but I've been an entrepreneur for about 10. So
Okay, great. Thank you, Kat. You look amazing for somebody who started business at 10 years old. But yes, Heather, over to you now, Heather.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Heather Tucker, and I am the sex coach on the internet. I primarily work with married couples. So you'll see me at marriage retreats, seminars, conferences, different places like that. I love what I do. I'm all about this topic today, so I can't wait to dig in.
Tiffany, we'll have you next.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Tiffany Castano. I'm CEO and founder of Sephora LLC, which is an acronym for Cultivating the Evolution of Professional HR. In my 16 years over HR, I've seen it transform, and that's really where it's at for me, working with businesses to help build their cultures and their leadership teams so they're places where people want to stay and where they're not ruined at the end of the day. And I'm here today in Pittsburgh.
Thank you, Tiffany. And we know that you are our DEI queen. So thanks for being with us. And
Yes.
Lucille, we're going to end the introductions with you.
All right. Well, I'm so happy to be here with this amazing panel of ladies. Hello, I'm Lucille Reddick. I'm CEO of Lucille Reddick Enterprises. As a specialist in supporting married entrepreneurs, professionals, and leaders, I understand the unique challenges that balancing career success with personal fulfillment is because I've been married for 38 years. That's why my company offers tailored tools and strategies to empower individuals to have thriving marriages alongside their professional achievements.
Awesome, Lucille. Thank you very much. So let's start the ball rolling. I'm going to ask this question. Kat, we're going to start with you again, and I guess you can feel free to pass it on to whoever you choose. But how did you, in terms of your journey into entrepreneurship, what inspired you to take that path rather than stay in the corporate world?
yeah, great question. I was in the corporate space for about 28 years, in the healthcare B2B space. And at the end, I was working with a great company that I really loved, had a great position, but there were multiple mergers, and then you have winners and losers, and you have great packages. So at the end, I kind of sat back and I was thinking about what I wanted to do next. Did I just want to jump into another corporate space, or did I want to do something different? And as a longtime strategic marketer, I developed a process, and I said to myself, if I am the business, if I look at myself as a business, how would I strategically think about what I wanted to do next. And I had this process called the 3D strategic approach, where I go through research, where I define, design, and deploy. And I did that for myself. I went into what's my secret sauce? What am I going to do best? Who do I want to help? How do I want to do? And I kind of designed the future that I wanted to see. And I came to the point where I want to work with smaller healthcare B2B organizations and help them. I don't want to be in the corporate space because there's a lot of, corporate stuff that goes with that. And I did that for many years, and I just wanted to help people with marketing. So that's how the journey went, from going from, I used all my corporate experience, but I wanted to help smaller organizations. And through that process, that's where I came in with the Women with Dynamic Purpose, because I was looking for an organization prior to using my strategic marketing process on myself. I was looking for some place to help me, guide me, and I couldn't find it. So I decided to create a thing that didn't exist for me. I got a lot of motivation, but I wanted tactical experience to help me get from point A to point B. And that's how I created Women with Dynamic Purpose.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great answer.
Mhm.
And I love that you kind of were strategic about it. You know, you had a plan and you worked your plan. Because for me, I got severed from my job after 15 years. It wasn't perfect, but I loved it. And I didn't have a plan. I wasn't ready. So I kind of fell into entrepreneurship and learned stuff along the way. But I think it's much, much better if you have a plan before you need to have a plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So who else wants to share their story? Lucille, do you want to share your story? How did you get on this particular path of entrepreneurship?
Well, yes, I'll go ahead and chime in. I have been an entrepreneur probably at least, let me see, me and my husband just celebrated 39 years of marriage. 39 years. I have always had some type, I call it a side gig. I worked for a federal agency for 33 years, but on the side of that, I've done it all. Tupperware, Avon, Shackley, Amway. I even had my own business where I sold children's clothes because I had a young son and I didn't like the clothes that I didn't think they were cute for boys. So I sold clothes that way I could buy my own stuff from the wholesaler and stuff like that. So but what led me into the business that I'm in now? I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I'm a coach. But what led me into that is I'm retired from my federal job and I had been doing um, outreach and ministry at my church. And so I'd been helping wives. I've worked with children, all of that. And so I decided, I was like, Lord, what is this something that I can do for myself in this season of my life that I can still find fulfillment, but I can also make some paper?
Right.
Show me the money, Lucille. Show me the money.
Can I make some paper with this, Lord? And so that's what led me into it. I feel purpose to help marriages succeed. I have some experience in that area, and so that's what I have a heart for that, and that's what led me into doing something that I love, and to be able to get paid to do it. Also, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, getting paid is important. So,
Yeah.
Tiffany, I'm going to ask you to share your story, and then Heather, we will let you end this particular round of questions. So, Tiffany, how did you get on this particular path?
Yes. Ooh. I feel like my HR path in general was a little bumpy from, oh, you don't have enough experience. Okay, how do I get said experience to just getting my degrees and my certifications? And I will say that Suffer was born out of kind of what I call my passion, pandemic passion project. So I always joke that it's the PPP, but not the loan. So it was really something that I wanted to do a long time, because what I was discovering in corporate as I was going through my work career is that I was not myself having the best employee experience. I went through a lot of corporate trauma, if you will. And so when we start our business, we have to work our way out of that. But for me, like Kat shared, it was important to work with small to medium businesses for me, because corporate, there's more bureaucracy. There is, they have a lot more resources than, and I work both across the nonprofit and for-profit sector. So for me, it was an easy choice and a very intentional choice to work with this market across the U.S. But I kind of was burning out on employee relations and the way that the old school kind of way that HR was. And I'm like, really where it's at for me is culture. I want to see HR transform. I'm tired of people running from HR and saying we're the worst when we have such a beautiful opportunity to impact culture and really help support leaders. And so I felt this like shove. I'm a woman of faith. And so it was God just shoving me like, you're ready to make the impact that you can't make sitting inside one organization where you may not even be appreciated. And so for the last maybe 4 years, that's what I've been doing is really helping these companies to get not only their infrastructures in place that impacts engagement and retention, but so that the humans who walk within there are not ruined when they leave their employer experience. So
Yeah,
that's
wow,
that for me.
Tiffany. I
Mhm.
love that answer
Yeah.
because I'm one of those people that in my other life, when I got an email from HR and they wanted to see you, my deodorant would stop working because I never knew, oh my God, like what is it? What is it? And that's the normal thing. People feel that HR represents the boss and not them.
Yeah.
So changing that culture, is very important because I think HR still has a bad rap. But then we have
Yep.
people like you that are working so hard to change that perspective. So Heather, I know you know why I've left you for last. So tell us how you got to walk this particular entrepreneurial path.
Yeah, well, like so many of you, I was in corporate America for over 20 years and was raising small kids. I was doing the whole daycare drop off. I was the one that had to stay home with them when they were sick and all those types of things. Because of that, I ended up getting fired from a couple of jobs because I had to leave because the school called me, hey, your kid is sick, come pick up your kid. And my husband has a kind of job where he's not able to leave like that, so it just fell on my shoulders. And because of that, I did get fired, and I kept thinking, man, this sucks. Like, I mean, getting fired, you do take it personal, even though it's like you do a really good job when you're there, but then you are also a mom and you have those responsibilities as well. So I kept thinking, what could I do to be at home, be the one for my kids, and not have to worry about getting permission to go and like help my family. So my husband and I have been married almost 23 years. It's coming up in a couple of months. And during that time, we went through a 12-year span of no sex. We did all the regular things. We went to work, we went to church, we served in ministry. Nobody knew. I had no one to talk to. And when I did try and talk to people at Bible study, very uncomfortable topics. So they just like shut me down. So I'm like, man, there must be other women out here in the world that are struggling with intimacy, struggling with communication, struggling with all these different things within their marriage. And they must also feel like they don't have a safe place to share and be honest and be open and be vulnerable without being judged or being felt weird for having this type of conversation. And so, because my husband and I had overcome these 12 years and we got our sex back and everything was great, and our sex was better than when we first got married. I mean, it was just such an amazing journey. I didn't want to start talking about it in the beginning. I didn't, because I also felt embarrassed because no one else was talking about it still on the internet. I mean, there was people showing their bodies and different things like that, how our social media is over sexualized, but like no one was talking about the real issues of marriage and the intimacy part of marriage and why there's so much cheating and why there's so much, porn and all these different things. And I was like, oh my God, I felt this stirring. Like, you have to, like, you're the one that has to be the first one to start talking about this, to start normalizing this conversation so that couples start to feel normal for having these issues and normal for raising their hand. Like, I need help. So that was 10 years ago. And ever since then, I've written a couple of books. So I have a couple of books on Amazon. I've written different programs and courses to help people. I teach dance. I teach burlesque dance on the side. So I'm always in creation mode with my heels on and just doing all these crazy, like, out of the box things, because I really want women to feel like it's okay for them to tap into the highest level of sexiness and all of that, because God created us, I believe, to feel that way. So that's what I do. And I also speak, like I said, at marriage retreats, and I also speak at singles retreats to help them prepare their mind and their body and their soul for their husband in the future. So it's been a journey. I absolutely love it. And like I mentioned to Karen before we started, I'm going to be launching a podcast also here within a couple of months.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love that most of us have gone onto this path because of a challenge that we experienced probably in corporate. And to expound, I guess, on your comment, Heather, I think most of us ladies who are children of God, you would find people encourage you to get married. Yeah, get married, and have children. They don't tell you what to do after you get married, and then they don't want to talk about sex because everybody is going to be like, the Virgin Mary, you don't have sex, you just have children. So it's just scary. It is just scary.
How does that
We
work,
just
Gail?
I don't know. I don't know, but
That's
they
true.
don't want to tell us about
I'm
sex.
just
So
saying, how does
you're
that
gonna have to
work?
do it. You're gonna have to. Somebody's gonna lay their hands on you. You're gonna get pregnant. Then you're gonna have children. I don't know. Um. So Heather, I'm just saying you are needed. All of
Yes.
you ladies are so needed because of the journey that you've walked to get to where you are today. I do not know why Lucille is still laughing, but we're gonna go to the next question.
Because wait a minute, Gail. Because I came up with some old women, and old women do not have any shame about talking about sex. I'm talking about
Oh,
70s, 80s, 90 years old. They like, I wish I knew a man that was still alive I could have sex with.
okay. Nope, I
So
haven't. I haven't met those
That's
people.
the
I
crew
know
to
that.
be in. That's the
Yeah,
crew.
I will tell you that my mom, like a lot of other Caribbean moms, my mom had two children and she didn't have sex. So I don't even know how she did it, but never, never, ever.
No, that's
So
true.
we need, and I didn't have a Heather to talk to,
Yeah.
So I think it's so good if we have these conversations even as girls growing up
Mhm.
before we get to have a partner,
Yep.
because no, you don't, you're going into something blind, and you don't know, and you may have experimented, but it's still not what you should be doing, kind of thing. No judgment, but
Mhm.
so Heather, thank you very much. Sorry, I didn't know you in my other life, but I want to talk a little bit now about some of the challenges that we've had trying to start our own businesses as entrepreneurs. So we're not in corporate anymore. We had all those challenges there. We're stepping out. We're going to help small businesses. We're going to help everybody we need to help. But now, what's different for us in terms of challenges, especially as females? Because I know that sometimes males, they don't have the same challenges we have. So I'm going to start with Tiffany. She's in my favorite HR space. I give her a lot of heat about HR. I always complaining about HR. So, Tiffany, we're going to start with you in terms of challenges. Like, what have you found since you've tried to become an entrepreneur? And then you could hand it off to whoever else you think.
Ooh,
So that I don't have to say, okay, Kat, you're next. Lucille, you're next. Heather, you're next.
yay. I like a surprise. I think for me, and yeah, I know we have these conversations all the time, pricing, because we think, oh, I made this salary in corporate. This is what I need to make here, not realizing the evolution of the business that is to come. We don't often recognize our full value. So trying to get to a place of what is this program worth? How much is my time worth? How much is all these, all the degrees I have, all the experience that I have, and you probably one of the toughest things has been when folks ghost you, when you take that personal. I used to take it personal. I still get fired up about it because I don't think it has a place. I think it's unprofessional. But that's really tough because it impacts, especially as a woman and a woman of color, it has really, played a role in some imposter syndrome across the way. Who am I to think I should be doing this? Maybe I should just go back and get a corporate job. And we're going to talk about some of this later, but like having other women and people in your circle who can lift you up when you have those moments. I think, that's been tough. And just trying to figure out like what when you have so many talents, how are you supposed to like pool that? And how do you know what people really need at the moment they need it? Because for me, that's important, is making sure that I'm meeting people where they're at the time. And so that was really difficult too. And then you realize you're like, yes, I locked it in. I'm good. We're 3 years in. I figured it out. I'm building a team. I have these amazing partners. We're doing it right. And then the next thing you know, here comes another stage of growth. And as you scale, you're like, did we not figure that out? Because like, what this feels like a whole new thing. And so for me, that's my latest and greatest challenge is just figuring it out. But it's also very exciting.
Yeah, I can relate to the pricing issue, and I see Karen nodding her head because she and I've had conversations about pricing. We know
Mm-hmm.
what we are worth. You know, we've studied, we have the experience, and we know that the fee that you would pay somebody else, maybe another organization, where are you quibbling over what I am charging you because I know my value. So Karen and I, we've
Right.
had some conversations, about that as
Mm-hmm.
well. I have felt sometimes that I would just throw the towel in and go back and work in corporate. And then something happens that shows you why you left corporate.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want to work with a leader who doesn't listen to you or who doesn't understand where you're coming from? Somebody who has control over your time, between 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, you only have an hour for lunch. Do I really want to go back there? So when Heather was talking about your children, yeah, because they tend to call the moms. You're the one who has to do the pickup, especially if the child is sick, take them to the doctor, take time off to stay with them. And every organization, they can't relate to that as we would like. So, Kat, you want to share a challenge that you've had?
Well, with regards to becoming an entrepreneur, one of the things you quickly realize is that you're not only the initial specialty that you bring. So I'm marketing, right? But you're also sales, you're HR, you are operations, you are everything. And you have to structure your business even if it's for yourself as a business, and have a structured offer. So this way, when you're ready to price yourself, you can say, okay, this is what I'm bringing to the table, but then this is the value that it brings. And people buy value, and they buy the solution. They're not just like an hourly thing, you know. So you have to think differently, and learning how to think that way, and say to yourself, I am a business, and this is the value I'm bringing, and this is the structure. So there's a lot of pre-work that has to happen. So when people start a business, a lot of times it's like, oh, I have this great thing and I'm going to do it. But it's all these things around it that have to happen, and you have to put it in a structured way. And that's why my approach, when I use my 3D strategic approach for business and for coaching, it takes people through step by step by step. So this way you can define and do the research and do the all the things that you have to do. So this way you have all your questions answered. Then you can design what it is that you're doing, and then you can deploy it, and then put it out there into the world. So for me, it was just taking that time and thinking of myself as a business. Now, as a woman in the corporate space, when I was in the corporate space, one of my challenges was being heard and learning how to not get offended by when people didn't hear me, but find different ways to be heard. So like if you're in a meeting and you say something and nobody says anything, and someone next to you, usually a fella, says the same thing, and everyone's like, oh yeah, yeah, that's great. One of the things I had to learn, because at first I would get really angry and say, I said that, but that made me very defensive. What I changed it was, I am so glad you agree with exactly what I'm saying. And I've kind of taken that mindset, into business. So this
Smart.
way, when someone says something that sounds remarkably familiar, I congratulate them for using my words, and it's just thinking about
That's smart
yourself.
I
Yeah,
strategic
love
though.
I
you
love
know,
that. I love that.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's a
I'm
good.
going to
So,
use that, Cat.
Yeah, Heather, I'm going to use
well,
that,
you
Kat.
should. It's
I'll be,
great. Once I
I'll be
started
using it.
using that, they were like, "Oh yeah." Then they have to kind of give you, kudos too. But it's all about, when you're doing an entrepreneurship, it's all about doing whatever it is that you're doing, and learning how to sell, and learning how to, while you're working in your business, always looking for your next sell. You have to look for your next client always, because nothing is worse than, and some whatever it is that you're working on finishes, and then you're like, well, now where's that next paycheck? You better have been working on it. And that's why I have a podcast. That's why I have newsletters. That's why I'm always networking and going, because you're constantly having to put yourself out there, so this way people can understand who you are, and what value you bring. So
Yeah.
I have a
yeah,
question. Um, I know that you just mentioned you have to be doing the multiple of things to be seen, visual, right? How do you still able to do that without being burnt out? Because this could burn you out. This could be very, in business, you could be doing so many, you said podcast, email, especially if you're a
yeah,
solopreneur and you didn't say don't have a team. So how are you able to, not just
yeah.
you, but in general, how can a person is able to, be visible, right?
Yeah.
Do podcasting, do email marketing, do content without feeling burnt out? What would you tell that
Well, I
person?
would I would suggest being very scheduled and very
Mm-hmm.
specific about your time. I'm a big believer in time blocking. And then I look into tools. AI is a great tool to help a lot of ways. There's other tools out there. And then, maybe if you need help, you get a virtual assistant. There you have to organize it. And then so this way it's not just happening, you are making it happen. So I know that on Mondays I will record my podcast between this and this hours. On so and so day, this is when I'm going to write. So it's very, very structured. Even though I am a very creative person by nature, I kind of like things to just happen. But for business, I can't do that, or it becomes a whirlwind of stress. I have to be structured in my business in order to make time for the creativity, in order to make time for the networking, and then I say to myself, this is how much time I'm going to spend a week. And there might be some things fluid there because sometimes you have a doctor's appointment or whatever, but you kind of create a structure for yourself. Because remember, you're a business. If you were working in a corporate office, it would be structured. People are all doing things.
Yep.
So you have to rethink how you think about yourself. You are the business of Karen. So how does Karen do sales? How does
Mm-hmm.
Karen do marketing? How does Karen do, and structure your day and get the help that you need when you need it, but try to be, and then also learn
Yep.
how, just because someone emails you or texts you, you don't have to respond immediately.
Yeah, that's one thing I had to learn when I start with like now, because I used to be like, oh, I got an email, and I had to respond, right? So that's one thing I really did had to learn that I don't have to reply to
Yeah, take
anything
a
right
beat
away.
and do it during your working
Yeah,
hours.
I had to learn that part.
You know what, Kat? I like your response for also to help women and men that have ADHD, because there's a lot of us out here that are entrepreneurs that have a structure laid out, but we're so distracted. We're very easily distracted. And so I like when something is laid out like that in front of me. I do the same thing. I have everything
Yeah.
blocked, and then I don't let
Hmm.
myself do the next thing until I'm done with the last thing. I don't allow perfectionism to get in the way,
Right.
from completing the first thing. So I love that response. And I'm really glad that you asked that question, Karen.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it as well. I think that's what's missing for a lot of new entrepreneurs as well. Because when you come out of
Yeah.
corporate and there's a structure, yes, but it's not your structure only. You're part of a bigger organization. So there is somebody doing HR, there is somebody doing maintenance, there's somebody doing accounts receivable and payable, but you are now all of these things. And then there's the other side that we take for granted. If I want to print something, I'm going to use the company's printer. I have my ergonomic chair, I have an ergonomic desk, I'm going to use their internet. And then now I am self-employed. I don't have anything. I don't have a printer. I don't have a chair. And so there, it's good to have a conversation because you may not be ready, because you may not understand the scope of what you are jumping into. And if you are as old as I am and you have so many different skills, how do you pin down that one important skill to serve that one important person? So I loved your answer, Kat, and I'm gonna need you after this because you're gonna have to write me a schedule and keep me from being distracted. And Heather, I'm coming to you now, Heather, because following on from what Kat said, I want to move into work-life balance. So I know before in your other life, it was hard to be a part of the corporate world and look after your kids and the other things you needed to look after. I'm not going to say the intimacy part, but how do you keep it all together? Like, what would you tell somebody who's concerned about that work-life balance? You know, everybody talk about that work life balance.
It's all
Yeah.
over LinkedIn. Work life balance, work life. And you know what? I just want to say to stop putting that pressure on yourself, because there really is no perfect work life balance. And I think that if that is your goal as an entrepreneur, that's going to lead to burnout. That's going to lead to depression, anxiety. You're going to start judging yourself. You're going to bring shame on yourself because you don't feel like you're doing everything exactly how she does it, or exactly how your parent tells you how they did it for 20, 30 years in their business. And it's this whole thing. So for me, when it comes to work life balance, I just allow myself to have that flow that Kat talked about. I'm also a woman of faith, and so for me, I'm like, okay, well, I can have this schedule, but where is there time for God intuitive hits? Because I still need to have that happening in my day. So if things are too structured and I'm hearing God's voice over here, like, hey, that lady needs you to talk to her in the store. Look at her. She's looking down on the floor. You can tell something is wrong. She's holding back tears. Well, if I got a thing in front of me that says I got to hurry and get out of the store, I'm going to just fly right past that lady and be like, she has someone else that can talk to her. But maybe she doesn't. We don't know. We don't know, right? So I have to allow time for that. So I do the best that I can. I do have the schedule, but I allow for those God intuition hits. And then I also need to make sure that I show my schedule to my spouse, because a big problem when we were in our sexlessness period was I was like, I'm starting this business and I need to be everywhere every day. You don't know. You're not doing it. You don't understand. You have a 9 to 5 job. This takes, like you guys were talking about, it's like all these different hats that we're wearing, and it's just us. And so I used to push away, like, my, not on purpose, but I was like, you don't know. Like, I just had this attitude, like, this is what I have to do, you know, and you don't get it because you're not doing it. You're not the one doing it.
Mhm.
And so I would unintentionally push away my husband. He started to feel left out. I unintentionally pushed away my kids. Then I tried to balance it in a way where my body was present, but my mind was on my phone. So I still was holding my phone, but I was going like this. Hey, what do you mean? I'm right here. I'm watching the movie with you guys. Why are you being all weird about it? I'm hearing it. And then they'd be like, no, you just missed a part. What did the dude say? And then I couldn't repeat it back. And I was like, okay. So that's, again, that's kind of like the ADHD thing that can come up for me, is like, I think I can do more than one thing all at one time, because I'm really good at hearing like I could hear a bunch of things. I can get creativity hits and run away, stop what I'm doing and go over here and do that real quick and then come back. Like, I'm really good at that stuff. But then, the family gets in the mix. And then, if I was single, obviously that wouldn't be as big of an issue, because it would just be me, and I wouldn't have anyone else to answer to, and I wouldn't have to worry about other people's feelings or whatever. So I had to learn that if I was going to be watching a movie with the kids or doing something with the kids, like, everything had to be turned off, and I had to decide. We have to decide. We're deciding to be present in this moment with what I'm doing. I'm going to feel everything. I'm going to be so into it that I'm going to get goosebumps. Like, I'm going to just be here. So that for me has worked really, really well. And I really didn't get good at that until about 8 years into the 10 years of entrepreneurship. So it's really just been the last couple of years that I feel like I've gotten my groove in that way.
Yeah, that's a good point, Heather, because I feel like a lot of, at least speaking for myself, that's one of the issues, right? Like, your brain is so many places because you have so many tasks to complete that you're not present, right? It's spending time, even with yourself, even being, just listening intentionally to your body to know when to take off, when to just, turn off the computer, turn off the phones. Like, that's one thing. And I think you mentioned it last time, saying you have to create your work life balance with the last conversation that we had. So that's one intention that I've been doing for me, is now be more present, right? And listen intuitive to my body and to myself when it's time for me to just log off, right? And because I'm good at pushing myself, I could be dead tired, sleep 2 hours, and wake up and keep going, right? So, and that's how I always done. So now I'm very being intentional on just turning it off. Let me just relax. Let me go do watch a movie. Let me go, experience the city because I live in New York. Right, there's so many things that we could do. So I think for anybody that's starting this journey, because I've only been 2 years in. So anybody that started this journey, I think that's one of the challenges because we want to do so many things that we lose ourselves in it and we forget everybody else. Right. So just listen to yourself, create your own life balance, right? And just be present. That's essentially what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. If I may chime in, I still work in corporate America. So I left that federal job after I retired, but I work in the IT space now, and I like what I do. But what I'm doing on the side is my business, and so there is no work-life balance. But I like the way you mentioned it, Karen, that I have to be intentional about placing the things in my life that I think are important. So yes, I got to work my 9 to 5. And I love that my job allows me a lot of flexibility. Anytime I need to get off to go speak or do anything like that, I can schedule a lot of things. And I work remotely, fully remotely. So that leaves me a lot of flexibility in that. But as far as working out, like Kat said, when you're a solopreneur, you're all the things. You're marketing, you're a human resource, you're the CEO, you're all of that, your sales. So being able to um, try to do all of those things and being intentional about it is so important. So like Heather said, I have to let my husband know, what my schedule is, what speaking engagements I have, when I have to travel. Is it some way that he can look at the schedule? Can he take off and go with me on some of those? When we schedule our intimacy time, I am not opposed from putting that on the schedule. There have been times in our 30-year marriage where we had a day that was our day. If it was Monday, Friday, whatever it was, we both knew in our mind ahead of time that we could be prepared for those times of intimacy. We have a regular date night that we do that's on Friday or Saturday night, depending on what the schedule goes on. But we talk about it. Most of the time, it's on Friday night. But if something comes up, we'll move it to Saturday night. But yeah, I think that's so important. I may not be balanced because I got a touch of that ADD, Heather, too. Uh, I can get so involved and so focused on what I got going on. I'm in the middle of, I got speeches to write. I got this on my plate. I'm coaching this day. So it's I wouldn't call it balanced, but I think I am in a good place where I feel comfortable that I am giving the right amount of time to the things that I need to give them to, and that I'm not leaving my family out. So
And I
that's how
feel
I'm
like
doing
our
it.
bodies are going to tell us when we're out of balance. We're going to get sick more
Yep.
often, and disease will come up, all those different things that can make us stop in our tracks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
these
true.
So
are really great points. Go ahead, Kat.
no, I was going to say that related to the body, we treat our cars better than we do our body, and we need to think of our bodies like a machine that has to be go to maintenance, that the more wear and tear, you got to take it to the shop, you got to rotate the tires, you got to do that. And if you think about your body like a machine that has working parts that need to be focused on, you will be better at scheduling your annual physicals, your blood work, and then putting the right gas in, right? You wouldn't put diesel in your car unless your car was a diesel car. You would never do that. We have to do the same things with us. We have to say, okay, what are we going to put in? And as we get older, okay, I'm 60, I got to be careful about what I put in my body in order so I can keep going to hopefully to 90, 120. Why not, right? So you've got to do those things in order to, so that's part of the journey as an entrepreneur is take care of your body so this way your body keeps up with your journey of your success.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'll say too that there's Honey, there's this friend that Tiffany and I have, and Karen, I don't know how many others of you follow him, Jamal Marshall, and he was saying he wants to take the perspective away from saying work life balance and find a work life rhythm. Because that way you don't beat yourself up too much. You do the best that you can, as much as you can, and understand that you're human and you're not looking for a balance, because balance is not something that is realistic. But let's find a rhythm and let's try to stick to the rhythm. So Lucille, as the person here who's been married the absolute longest, forever, it seems like forever whenever you mention that number. I hope one day to be like you, but I have less time on the earth to achieve that. um so tell us a little bit though about, I know we talked about having, yes, we're gonna have this work life rhythm. You're gonna speak to your husband. You're gonna let him know all of the different things you're doing, which is really good. But how important on the other side of that is for you to have a tribe or even a mentor, somebody to talk to and support outside of maybe your family,
Oh,
that can
that's
help, that like how we are having today. Like I think of you guys as our mentors. Karen doesn't know that yet, but y'all are our assigned mentors. She's gonna send you a
Yeah.
letter in writing and you're gonna sign off on it. But what I'm saying is, how important is that? And I want everybody to think about it and maybe give their answer. How important is it for us to have a tribe? And I would say especially of women, because we are women in entrepreneurship, not necessarily forego a conversation with a male, but how important is it to have these kinds of conversations on a regular basis? Yeah,
oh
Lucille.
my
I know
my
it's long.
no problem, no problem. I think it is so important. I have um, three really good friends, and we travel together. We could do different things together. Two of the ladies are part of my church, and one of the ladies I met when I went back in school to get my master's degree. We were both older women who have been married a long time, and we just kind of gravitated towards each other. But that's my tribe. I get a chance to be completely who I am with them. Sometimes they have to talk me off the ledge. I let them know what's going on, whether it's with Donnie, my husband, or whether it was something I'm disappointed, with my job, or what do you guys think about, my new logo for my business, or I'm thinking about doing this. How does this sound? I'm just able to put that out there and get some real honest feedback. I'm also part of a Bible study group that I'm involved in, and I can reach out to all of those ladies, and I can send a text, and they'll pray for me, and if need be, assist me in whatever it is I need. But really, the I think the most important part of having a tribe is just to know that you're not out there by yourself. And I think about you ladies. I met Gail and Karen. I think before I met Heather. But I feel like that if I had a question or anything, that I could reach out to you guys and get
Yeah, me
some
too.
assistance. I could get some mentorship with other women or men. And I have coaches in other areas of my life too, for business and for marketing and that type of thing. But just being able to have someone that is in your corner, that wants the best for you, that is not in competition with you, and that they will give you their honest feedback and support. It's priceless.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I
true.
agree.
Anybody want to, yeah, I think mentorship is important. Like that's true. Like especially for me, I feel like I know all of you ladies, even though we never physically met. But I feel like I know you, right? So if I ever needed any, just not just business, but if I ever needed like a personal advice, I feel like I can reach out to any one of you and ask a question. So I think it's important to have that. I mean, this is we met through
We did.
LinkedIn. You
We
Yep.
know,
did.
I mean, the only one I met was Gail. I'm not talking about you, Gail. I'm
Well,
talking
I'm
about
laughing because
the.
I only have to message Karen and she's ready to come over from New York and she's gonna kill whoever's stressing me. Give me the name. Give me the name. I'm here for you. I'm saying
I know the
it's
last time.
okay. It's
I know the
okay.
last time.
I'll call you back.
Yeah, the last time she told.
Yeah,
I
and
know.
Tiffany is the same
Yeah,
with
she
me.
she want all the smoke.
Yeah, she wants all this smoke. Tiffany and I talk almost every week, and she's been really, really great at helping me. We talk about pricing and we talk about clients, and
Mhm.
Kat is the queen of networking. Heather, I know we don't talk as much, but
Yes.
that's because I don't have anything to talk to you about right now. When I find my significant other, then I'll call you. But I
Hey
think
man, I make a good friend too. We don't just have to talk about sex.
okay, well I'll call you,
Right.
but I think it is so valuable to have these kinds of conversations and to know as a woman, first of all, that it's not just you that feels this way.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
You know what, too? I'm coming out of being a part of a woman's, well, it was supposed to be a women's empowering group, and I paid into it. And the promises that were given up front did not really happen. So then I decided to walk away from that.
Wow.
One thing that I learned through this though is we don't have to, as entrepreneurs, we don't have to pay. We don't have to pay to be a part of a group just to feel supported or just to feel encouraged or motivated or to get creative ideas. Like we can choose to gravitate or even just ask. Like all we have to do, we know so many women on LinkedIn that we've met. I mean, why can't we give ourselves permission? Like, hey, if I ever have a question or if I ever need prayer, do you mind if I come and reach out?
Right.
Do you know how many people are going to say yes if you
Mhm.
get the courage and just ask them? Like they love to do that. Women love to pour into other women. So if you're looking
Yeah.
for a community, don't feel like you have to pay in to a membership. That's something that I learned the hard way. I'm glad that I went through that experience, but I do want to say this out loud in case there's somebody out there that is looking for friendship, looking for mentorship, community. It doesn't cost anything. If you don't have to let it cost anything.
No, just adding on to what you just mentioned, Heather. I think that that's because even for me, like I'm like, okay, now I want to be a part of a community, right? Just connect with other women. But I think the community and the culture of the community is just as important, right? Because everybody does not, you come into a space sometimes and it can be very standoffish. Like for me, I'm very in tune with energy of people, right? So that's usually what I always guide me connecting to someone or leading myself to someone on the energy that I get from a person or a group. And that's true. Finding a community of women is very important, especially the culture that they bring. Whoever, especially who's the host, because the whole I feel like the host of that community, the leader of that community, kind of set the tone, right? Hey, if you see something that's not probably appropriate, maybe address it, not in public, because I don't, not in public, maybe in private, have that conversation. So that the tone that you want to bring to that community is, invitation, openness, vulnerability, if that's what if the person is open to do that. And I think that's important because I have been in other communities and I didn't like it. I was like, oh no, this is not for me, child. I gotta go, you know?
Allison in
So
the
I think
chat has
that
a good idea. She said maybe create a LinkedIn group for everyone here. That's actually a really good idea.
well, it's coming, guys. We and Gail, yes, talking about that. We have we are
But even just
it's
like a group
coming.
chat, like we can just put us all in a group chat and we can be like praying for each
Yeah,
other. I mean, I think that's a really good idea.
I think right. Yeah, yeah, I
Hmm.
agree. But let's talk about emotional intelligence. And I know you just mentioned, Kat, you mentioned how sometimes as women, I think we too emotional. We can't be leaders. We. So how does the role of emotional intelligence plays in leadership as a woman? How important is that?
Are you me? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence. I think it's. I almost don't know if it's just for women. I think emotional intelligence is important across the board. It's
Yes.
really tapping into and understanding. One of the things I used to tell people, because, when I had a staff, everyone wants to be a manager. And I said, you're not just managing things, you're managing people. And I said, if you're managing people, you are into a whole different area. You have to then worry about, what's their upward mobility, what's happening, that's keeping them away from work or keeping them distracted, or so it's just for me, it's about learning how to set expectations, but also be open to the human beings in front of you. But then you can't get trapped too much into that, because ultimately in a business you have to get to the end point. But everyone travels through there differently. You don't have a bunch of automatons doing things exactly the same, and you have to see people for who they are. So I for me it's less, if you're thinking about the way I'm thinking about in terms of managing people and so on, emotional intelligence is something that everyone needs to work on. So that,
Yeah.
because you're working with people and humans.
Yeah, that's true. Let anybody other than want to chime in as far as emotional intelligence and just having being a woman in a
I would
role,
love to.
right? Because
And then I
please, I would
see
love to hear
Lucille,
your
and then I
thing.
feel like we haven't heard from Tiffany, so I want to.
Yes, Tiffany.
But for me, like I came up through a lot of abuse. So there's like a lot of things that have come up in like when I was in corporate America and then in my marriage and raising kids that I get triggered. Like, oh my gosh. I'm like, why all of a sudden it just comes out of nowhere? I'll be in a super good mood and just all of a sudden it'll be like boom, something. And if you're not totally aware and you're not being fully present in your emotions, which is what emotional intelligence teaches us to do, is to be more grounded and all that. If you're not aware of that, man, you can just be flying off the handle and like, getting in a fight with your husband and you're like, I don't even know what caused that, you know? So I think we just need to be aware of our triggers and get to the deep seated root cause behind, and that takes work with a therapist like myself, Lucille. I mean, any of us, uh, we can help you to get to what is causing that. So sometimes I will go into corporate spaces, and this is the conversation that we're having, is figuring out where the root causes are coming from, because a lot of times it is from the personal side of your life and now it's impacting your job and how you're showing up and why you're distracted and things like that. So yeah, it's really important. Karen, what's the name of that book? We talked about it before. I think it's called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I forget the author, but that's the
Yeah,
book that I've read that has really, really helped
I
me to
understand.
understand.
Mhm.
Yes, I've read that book too, and I can't remember whether that book is the one that has an assessment where it kind of tells you about your
I don't.
personality or whatever. I've taken so many assessments, but anyway, uh, what was so important about having emotional intelligence for me? Kind of like what you. I hate to use the word triggers, but I guess that's probably the best way to say it. Because of my background, and I'm such an emotional type person, um, my emotions would hijack me in the most inopportune times. So being able to really do some inner work and find out, I guess, what my triggers are, and being able to put words to that, um, to how I was feeling and what was going on. Because what I found that I was doing before I did some of this work with emotional intelligence and trying to get into a better space is I'm a crier. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I cry when I'm excited. I cry when I'm down. So, and people would not understand that it was always considered to be something that it wasn't. Maybe, what are you getting so emotional about? It's just this and it's just that. And, that wouldn't help either. And I'm just like, well, I can't help it. But being able to put words to it has really helped me hold back the tears, because I guess I was feeling frustrated because I couldn't express myself, and being able to put words to it now, um, in a way that I can feel seen and heard. So, if it's somebody that was doing something, that I feel was egregious, I would hold it in and I wouldn't say anything, because I didn't want to be seen as the angry black woman, in my job. So, but now I've got some ways to say some things in a professional, in corporate speak, or in a professional way, or just, hey, um, uh, that's not acceptable. I don't put up with that. Or, "Oh, why are you saying that?" And a lot of it has been, why are you saying that? Because I would interpret something as one thing and the person didn't mean it that way. So rephrasing stuff would be, if I understand you correctly, you're saying this. And, I would say 9 times out of 10, the person is not even saying that. And it comes from my background, my trauma that I experienced, that I'm taking it in that way. And so just being able to be able to communicate effectively and say, like I said, if I understand you correctly, you're saying this, and they're saying, no, that's not what I'm saying. Or if I need someone to do something, say it's my husband in our relationship. Hey, babe, when you do this, it makes me feel this way. And so it's not, me jumping on him with, you always do so. You always leave your sock over here, or you always leave your dishes in the sink, or you always leave the toilet seat up.
Mm-hmm.
it's
Lucille knows we've had those conversations. That's why I'm
it's
divorced.
it's simply, when you do this, it makes me feel this way. And of course, my husband said, well, that's not what I'm trying to do. I didn't know it was making you feel that way. I'll work on it. And so sometimes he's better about it, but those socks are still on the side of the hamper. So I've given up. We just
Yeah.
not gonna focus on it. I'm gonna focus on him being sweet and kind.
Good girl, Lucille. And
Okay.
thank you
Yes.
for making me feel okay when I worked in corporate with, when I had an interaction with my boss and I got frustrated. That's okay to go into the restroom and cry my eyes out because so many of us do that. And Tiffany, based on everything Lucille just said, and Heather and Kat. So Kat talked about managing people, and I think one of the things we forget most is that HR, you don't just manage people, you manage all of the people. And I think that involves so
Mhm.
many different emotions. I tell people, I do some HR consulting, but I don't think I'd work in HR 100%. It's just so many people, so many different emotions. And then did she mean that? Did he mean that? No, that's not what I said. No, that is not. Okay, no, this is the policy. You agreed to the policy when you signed on. How do you manage that, Tiffany, in terms of, and is that emotional intelligence, or is that taking a lot of vitamins and just trying to load stamina and survive? What is it?
I mean, it might be all of the above, right? Because I call what Jamal calls work life rhythm, I call that work life integration because I think at any time it can always be off balance. Hello, anybody who listens to me will know that I talk about my perimenopause journey a lot. And so this becomes like learning more about yourself and your emotions. So this, I feel like I'm kind of glad that I went last because it ties well into what everyone said and how we have to recognize our own emotions. So in the work that I do, I talk a lot about EQ or emotional intelligence and DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and the relationship of the two, meaning that there's a social emotional component, there's a personal component, and we should kind of regulate that. We have to do that self scan, know our triggers, be emotionally tapped in. Going through this journey, you have to like reintegrate with yourself. And so I have to know that sometimes these moods swing, and so, how do I regulate that and understand what's going on for me? How do I learn and understand the balances of the triggers that go on here before I then go and have a conversation or before I go try to consult with somebody and give them advice? And so in the workplace, it's a lot of those things where we're dealing with different personalities, backgrounds, lived experiences. So that's why I like to do workshops and training around this. In fact, next weekend I have a client retreat and we're talking about team building and how do we navigate conflict together? How do we even know what's going on within ourselves? Because that becomes a large part of the issue when you don't have your own stuff together and you're not regulating, and then you go and try to place that blame, like Lucille said. There's a way you can say it and be accountable and have them be accountable. So a lot of what we talk about as well is intent versus impact. So I guess that's what I would add
Yeah.
to the conversation.
Yeah, that's true. Emotional intelligence, at least for me, that I came a long way. Knowing how to say things nicely, because before I'm just used to just saying things and not necessarily recognizing that it can come off kind of mean, right? And I'm not even trying to hurt somebody's feelings. I'm just used to being. That's how I am. That's how my mother was very straightforward kind of person. So
That's the New York in
I
you.
and that New York, that as well, that doesn't help. But it just learning how to recognize people when what they call it, read the room, right? When somebody's uncomfortable, when you say something that might have offended somebody, because that's one thing I really did have to learn and tap into. So emotional intelligence is very important in business. So I also want to ask you ladies about confidence, right? When you first, what strategy did you ladies use to build your confidence in business, right? And be assertive? Because I know I always equate business sometimes to like skating in heels. Because some days I feel confident and some days I feel like I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So, what are your strategies you ladies use for anybody watching that maybe just started this business to build their confidence, to come up, to walk into a room and know that they are the SHIT? I'm not going to say because I don't want LinkedIn to ban me, right? But what strategies or were you able to build your confidence in business?
Well, for me, I had to learn how to let go of other people's opinions of me, because one of the questions you asked is what's the hardest thing that you've had to go through in your entrepreneurial journey. For me, it's been other people trying to silence me, silence the message. That's been the hardest thing, and it still comes up after 10 years. I still get slapped on the wrist all the time by different LinkedIn. Like, I'm learning all the different words and all the things I can and cannot say. And then, getting messages on the back end, hearing from people that I'm going to be sending people to hell. I mean, I hear stuff like this all the time. So for me, with confidence, in the area of confidence, I've had to learn how to not listen. So even though people are trying to silence me, I have to learn to silence them and to tap into the passion and the mission, because there is a mission that has been placed. I mean, I feel it. Like, I wake up, I feel it. It's a fire like that's in my belly. And I feel like if I don't say something throughout the day about helping people in this way, that I'm doing humanity a disservice. So the more that I silence other people's voices, the more that I continue to show up, and the more that I'm loud, but in a loving, friendly way, of course, the more that builds confidence. So anything that you feel insecure or unsure about, the more that you do that thing, the more that you force yourself to do that thing, that's what's going to build confidence. Even in the area of learning how to dance, there's so many ladies that will come to me and they'll say, I have 2 left feet, I can't dance. I'm like, yes, you can. You just have been saying that for so long. You need to let that thought process go and allow somebody to teach you and to work with you step by step so that you can build upon that and then get better. And pretty soon, after a couple of months, you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm dancing. And my husband loves it. He loves it when I do all the things in front of him. So that's what you have to do, is no matter what it is you're trying to learn, just do it, do it, do it, do it. And don't let anybody stop you or silence your voice, because you deserve to be here and you deserve to have success in whatever mission God has called you towards. I truly, truly believe that for each and every one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to
Yeah, just real quick.
comment on?
Yeah, real quickly is my yeah. Real quickly, I want to say that one of the things we have to be better at, and this really helps with confidence, is your inner voice. I spend a lot of time saying that I'm a badass to myself. I'm not going around and telling, but you've gotta tell yourself, your stuff. You are smart. And when I'm sure almost everyone here, when you first started, you were afraid to put CEO behind your name and your business, right? You are CEO of your business, and it's learning how to step into that. So it's the conversation. You cannot take the voices of other people and kind of try to do all this jumble, and your inner voice has to be your cheerleader. It has to be you're talking about yourself in a way of pure confidence. And it really helps. If someone else has an opinion, that's their opinion. They can have it. Have at it. My
Mm-hmm.
opinion is I'm a badass. I know my stuff. Here's my experience. I help people. If I don't help you, okay, I'm sorry, but I know who I've helped. And it's really about stepping into that and just saying it to yourself every day. It's like a language you're learning. And I find that when you do that, you really step into being more confident.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as far as the combination of Heather said, doing whatever it is you know, because for me, I had imposter syndrome. The first year, I didn't really do anything. I'm not gonna lie to you, ladies. I couldn't do a live. I might have recorded a take would take a whole hour to take a take, make one video, right? Because I wanted it to be perfect. Like it had to sound like this, and it had to look like this, and you know, so that took away from my journey. So just added on to both to what Heather and Kat just mentioned, right? Affirming yourself, and doing the particular task will build your confidence. I felt that helped me when Gail and I started doing this LinkedIn live, right? I talked fast. I wasn't confident. I didn't want to do it, but us doing it together kind of helped me build my own confidence to do my own lives at this point. So I hope I just want people to take confidence, because one of the things that when you start in business, you don't have it, and that imposter syndrome can really kick in and really take away from the journey of growing, the journey of doing. So it's pivoting to authenticity in the journey of business or becoming a business. Did anybody ever feel like they had to compromise their authenticity or compromise any of their values? And if so, what did you do to go back to yourself, right? To bring it, okay, I'm not doing this, is not who I am, right? This is my values. I'm going to stick to what my values are. Because when you start, it could be so many ears, so many people talking. So you could compromise your values, and you could compromise uh who you are. So did anybody had to experience this at all? Did they ever feel like they had to compromise any of their values, or be inauthentic?
Well, let me just say this. I feel because I know y'all because you met me under different circumstances, but I am a shy person, and people
Really?
and people don't believe that.
I'm very reactive.
I know. It depends on how you meet me. So
Okay.
being a shy person, and I wouldn't say I'm an introvert or anything like that, because once I get to know you and meet you, then I just talk your ear off. But it's that initial meeting point. Like I may not go, I may not be the first one to initiate conversation, depending on where we are. I'm more reserved. I'm gonna sit back and kind of watch what's going on, try to read the room before, I put myself out there. And so that can be sometimes misconstrued to be that I am an introvert, or that because I'm not just lively and all over the place and doing all the things or whatever, that maybe I'm not approachable sometimes, or that I don't know, people get different ideas about me. And so what I had to learn is that, you know what, I don't have to be anybody but me. This is me. I'm kind, I'm gentle, you is special, you is all the things from that movie. You is kind, you is you is special, you is beautiful. All of those. I'm all of those. And the Lord has placed this passion in my heart, and He gave that to me. And He gave you all of the bubbliness, and you're all over the place and doing all the things and everything. And that's not me. This is me, and this is how I show up. And if I don't get all of the accolades or whatever from, people for doing that, I just have to be okay with that this is me, and this is how I operate, and this is how I feel most comfortable. And so just affirmations that you were talking about, the good self-talk, having a good tribe around me that helps me feel special, encourages me. And then I've started doing something recently that I want to share with you guys. I have an alarm set that's for 3 o'clock every day, and it's my purpose alarm. And what I usually do during that time is I say something along the lines of a scripture or something like that. Um, um, I am beautiful and wonderfully made. Um, God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power and a sound mind. It's just different things that I have that come up in my mind, or that I'm special, I'm wonderful at what I do. So just having those affirmations, but it's really been helping to have that 3 o'clock alarm every day. And at that time, I stop and I say some type of affirmation to myself. And I'm enjoying it. So I give that to you. It's free. You can set an alarm. And I think it would be important for people to do that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you showing up today, sharing with our viewers your experience and your journey. So I appreciate any takeaways. Because we closing for today. Anybody want to say one last word before we close?
I think what I would say along what Lucille said quickly is just owning your value. And especially as a business owner, you're in this seat for a reason. And so to own that and not let a client or a prospect or anyone tell you what you need to be doing, the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, and just establishing those values early on for yourself personally and for your business. And so for me, that's how I've been able to walk away from money sometimes. Like that's not all money is good money. Own your
Yeah,
That part.
values
that's true.
and establish it. That is going to be a gift for you. So that's free too. You're welcome.
Yeah, that's a tag for today. Not every month, right? That's a tag. Not
You don't want all
everybody's
those
good.
dollars. It might come with your soul.
Right.
I'm not willing to give it up like that. No, no.
So, Gail, close it out for today. Anybody else want to say? Because we're about to close for the day.
It's,
It's Sunday. People got things to do,
yeah.
honey.
Does
So,
anybody else have one very quick takeaway? What do you want our audience to leave with, if nothing else today, in one sentence? And then I'll close us out.
yeah.
I would say one takeaway that I hope people are taking away from that is that you can be yourself and you can be in business. You can have a rhythm that is uniquely yours without sacrificing marriages, children, family, all of that. You can do it. You just have to be intentional and strategic about doing it. But jump into those
Yeah.
entrepreneurial waters. Don't let it stop you from doing the thing that you feel like God has placed on your heart to do.
Amen.
There you
Heather,
go. Yes.
lay
Amen.
it on us, Heather. In one sentence. In one sentence.
Yes, very similar to Lucille. Just be yourself. I go into every single day with Psalms 139 in the back of my mind. God created me on purpose. He put the mission in me. So why am I going to deny that from other people? And you guys shouldn't either.
There you
Love
go.
Yeah.
songs.
Hang
Well, hope
on,
everybody
Kat.
have a
We
great
didn't hear from
weekend.
Kat.
Oh,
Sorry, Kat.
oh,
Well,
sorry.
my one of my focuses are on helping women that are 60 plus that are rising in age, and I think that it's all about having a youthful energy, not to be youthful, but to have a youthful energy about learning and growing and connecting with folks so you can continue to thrive as long as you decide you want to thrive. And I think making connections like these and learning about how brilliant women are doing what they're doing is also very great way to help support and push you forward. So.
Great.
Yes, and I'm gonna share in the comment section everybody's LinkedIn. Please do connect with the ladies. Anybody that resonated with you, right? Anybody that you feel like you energetically vibrated towards. So follow these ladies. If you have any questions, I know somebody asked about cat podcast.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put your LinkedIn in the chat so they can follow you, and I'm sure they could connect with you as well.
Great.
So
Well, thank you, ladies. My one biggest takeaway is that we need to do more of these. The conversation was amazing. The nuggets, very, very
yeah,
valuable. The freebies on top of the golden nuggets, even better. So it'll be great to do a part two in the future, and I'll see what the response is like. We can do a poll and see if people really, really want a community.
yeah,
And if they say
right.
yes, and it's more than one or two people, yes, we will we'll create something and have something put together for the future. So I wanted to thank you ladies for agreeing to join us today. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so, so much for the conversation. As I said, Karen,
Yes, ladies, everybody have a great Sunday and be
be
fabulous. All
fabulous.
right.
Ciao.
Bye bye,
Yes,
everyone.
bye.